We learn on Daf 25 of Megillah that it's perfectly acceptable, at least in the eyes of the rabbis, to mock idolatry. Why is that acceptable? We don't usually like going around mocking things, but the rabbis felt like, wow, you know what? The more foolish they make idolatry look, the less likely people in the community will fall into that trap and become idolaters. They wanted to keep people away from that. So they said, okay, you know what? We can make fun of it. And if you read throughout Chazal, throughout the Talmud, you see the rabbis are mocking idolatry. And they say things like, oh, come on, you think that piece of wood that was sculpted just last week, that created you? I mean, come on, how stupid can you be? Now, this created some real problems for me. And why? I mean, it's not that I have a big problem with mockery, but here I was writing biblical fiction, and I'm trying to really get across what the world of idolatry is genuinely about. And of course, I'm a Jewish rabbi. Most of my sources are going through these Jewish sources, and so many of the statements that we have from Jewish sources about idolatry are these mocking statements that I can't really take literally. If I'm trying to create idolatry as it must have been from the eyes of the idolaters in order to make realistic biblical fiction, then these statements of the rabbis, which are just mocking them and making them look stupid, are not terribly useful. So I had to really step outside of that and really say, okay, I know that the rabbis are just trying to make anyone who bows down to an idol look like a complete moron because they don't want the next person to bow down. And so if you really mock one person who does it, the next person is like say, hey, I don't want to be mocked. I'm not going to go down that path. But if I was to ask an intelligent idolater, what were they thinking? They certainly would not supply the type of answers that the rabbis were giving. They'd certainly give a very different perspective on what they were engaged in. So that was really the process that I had to try to work out. I had to try to get into the head of an idolater who was not looking like some dumb idiot the way the rabbis like to paint them, but it was somebody who is much more considered and thinking about their choices and deciding that this is the path they wanted to go on. How would they justify the choices to go towards idolatry? How would they describe these idols? And it became a very interesting challenge, and one that I hope I pulled off to a degree. Check out Age of Prophecy series. You can download the first book, Lamp of Darkness, at theageofprophecy.com if you want to check it out. And let me know, did I hit it? Did I make it work? Or did I not?